Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and we're going to do kind of a recap breakdown of free agency for every team in the NFL. What we're going to do, the biggest name every NFL team re-signed, and the biggest name that every NFL team signed to their roster. Let's begin in Arizona, where they signed Baron Browning 2-year, $15 million. They traded for Browning from the Broncos mid-season. He had some production enough that they decided they wanted to bring him back on a 2-year deal. He's going to be paired with Josh Sweat. 4 years, $76.4 million as he's reunited with Jonathan Gannon. Sweat was the best defensive end to be a free agent this year. He got big time money. He beats you with power. He can beat you with speed. He's learning how to use finesse better. Pairing him with Baron Browning is a good idea for the Cardinals in their best interest. Well, Atlanta, and for a lot of these teams, they don't sign big name guys. So we're just trying to get the biggest name guy we can get. Jake Matthews, who signed a 2-year, $45 million extension with the team. It's hard to find good left tackles in this league. So when you have them, you draft them, and you perfect them, you want to keep them around as much as humanly possible. So Jake Matthews returns to the Falcons. They also sign they free agents that they signed with two guys I want to make sense. One guy is Leonard Floyd, was released from the 49ers and immediately signed with Atlanta about 30 minutes to an hour later. This is how quickly this turned around. And then the other name I wanted to say, just because it's a really cool name, and I was talking to family about it, and they said, no, that's just the coolest name in the world. But either that or the family had a very rude joke about him. It's Divine Diablo, who played for the Raiders, which of course he did. Of course of course a guy named Divine Diablo played for the Raiders. That just makes logical sense. So Divine Diablo, Leonard Floyd signed with the Falcons. The Ravens re-signing Ronnie Stanley. 3 years, $60 million. Was the best tackle in the free agent class. Could have gotten more on the open market had he gotten there, but he wanted to stick around in Baltimore. The free agents that they signed, DeAndre Hopkins is the most notable name, 1 year, $6 million. You're seeing a lot of this older free agent wide receivers are signing shorter term deals with less money. Excluding the Stephon Diggs deal, this is the smallest contract so far, and this is pretty much where I have it ballparking is $6 million. For the Bills, I'm not going to count Josh Allen. That was a 5-year contract that they gave him a 6-year. I'm not going to count that. But I'm going to count Gregory Rousseau. 4 years, $80 million. Could have gotten a lot more in the open market had he gotten there. He wanted to stick around. He's the number one end in Buffalo at that point. So, and he's ruthless. His pursuit is ruthless. So he does a very good job on that front for the Buffalo Bills. And hey, he gets to be paired with Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa signing a 1-year, $12.6 million deal. I was I was surprised that he signed a 12.6 for 1 year because he's not played quite the same. But it was a bidding war, and the Bills wanted to make sure they did not lose that. And this was also a move of we need to beat Patrick Mahomes. Let's sign anyone we can. They replaced Von Miller with Joey Bosa. Okay. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers. J.C. Horn's the biggest name. 4 years, $100 million. 25 million guarantee, 25 million was its average. It's a big deal for a guy who's on the field. When he's on the field, he's an unbelievable football player. When he's off the field, which happens a lot, not so much. You gotta try to keep these guys around when you have them, but they gotta make sure he's healthy throughout the season. The biggest name I'm gonna go with is Patrick Jones II. He's an edge rusher, 2 years, $20 million. Again, most of these people you've never really heard of, so you're just trying to pick the biggest names. So 2 years, $20 million for Patrick Jones II. Let's jump to Chicago. And I'm going to take Joe Tooney, who was traded from the Chiefs. So this kind of counts. Traded from the Chiefs. You need offensive line help. You brought in Jonah Jackson from the Rams. You need offensive line help. This is how you help your offensive line. Bring in older guys to help in the early process, draft behind them. So during the years, you have better options behind than you do ahead. Behind the young guys. With the young guys. For the signing guys, I'm going to do Grady Jarrett. 3 years, $43.5 million. He was cut from the Falcons, going to Chicago. Again, a very quick turnaround. Cut one day, and I believe the same day he was signed. So that explains how quickly this guy was moved on. Moving to Chicago. Let's go to Cincinnati. Obviously, I'm going to take T. Higgins here. 4 years, $115 million. The Jamar Chase and T. Higgins deals are pretty similar. Jamar Chase's is just 160 million. T. Higgins is 115, which is kind of the ballpark we all had him at. He was obviously going to be the best receiver in the free agency class by far. It was just could he get there? And he didn't. He was going to get franchise tag. He was franchise tag. Then he signs this big contract extension. So there you go. Signings. This is not really the biggest name, but it means a lot for Cincinnati fans. Samaje Perine, 2 years, $3.8 million. There was someone who messed it up so badly during free agency, but they said Samaje Perine was getting like 4 years. I think it was like 20 a year. It made no sense. I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, did someone like put an extra zero? That doesn't add up at all. Now let's go to the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett, by far, obviously. He wanted a contract extension. So it says retained, really more just extended. 4 years, $160 million. I truly believe he wasn't going to play if he didn't get either traded or an extension. So they got one of the two done. For the Browns, I'm going to go with they signed Devin Bush 1 year, $3.25 million. Cheap, but a good player, so you take it. Let's go to the Cowboys. Let's go down to Dallas. Easily the biggest name, I'd say, is Oso Odighizuwa that they re-signed. 4 years, $80 million. Could have gotten a lot more. He took a really team-friendly deal. But you needed him around because you looked at these Milton Williams contracts. Milton Williams going to the Patriots. Very expensive. Like almost $7 million more than $5 to $7 million more per year. So Dallas got a cheap deal there. Signings, I'm gonna go with Dante Fowler, 1 year, $8 million. It was not the most expensive contract in the world, but you need edge rushing help, and he had one of his better years. Now you want more help than that, but you'll take that. A guy who's very productive, you know him. He played for you for a few years, for 3 years. So you got it. So you take that whenever you can. For the Denver Broncos, I'm gonna go with Evan Ingram, 2 years, $23 million. Sean Payton finally gets his movable tight end piece that he wants. That's what Evan Ingram can do. 2 years, $23 million. You take it. The signings, there's two big ones I want to shout out. Dre Greenlaw, 3 years, 35 million. Talanoa Hafunga, 3 years, 45 million. Both from the 49ers. Both from the 49ers. Both were free agents. Hafunga, when he's on the field, he's a menace. He's that good of a football player. He just needs to stay healthy. Coming off an Achilles tear, he didn't play at all this year. That's unfortunate. But Dre Greenlaw also coming off an Achilles. Played in 3 games. The first game I saw him, he played the Rams. He looked pretty good in that game. But then they just kind of shut him down a little bit just to why rush it. So those are two I want to shout out. For the Lions, I mean, I was gonna go. I was like Levy Ozarike, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do Marcus Davenport, edge rusher, 1 year, 4.75. Cheap, yes. Worth it, absolutely. So you would do that. The biggest signing by far, though, that they signed as a free agent was DJ Reed. DJ Reed, 3 years, $48 million. Smaller guy. He's a small guy, but he's a fighter. He's gonna go through it, and you're gonna love. He's honestly better than Carlton Davis. So think of it that way. For the Packers, they only made about 4 moves. So I'll say McManus, 3 years, 15.3. We got kicker news. 3 years, 15 million for Brandon McManus. Why not? They need kicker help. So bring him back. It makes sense. I'm gonna go Aaron Banks, 4 years, $77 million. You steal him from the 49ers. So that's one positive. It was very expensive, but you need offensive line now. So you take it. For the Houston Texans, I'm gonna go with, of course, I could do Derek Stingley, and I will. 3 years, $90 million for Derek Stingley. Well deserved, absolutely. But I also want to bring up C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who they traded for from the Eagles. You basically got a good player for a safety. I'm a little concerned you got a lot of safeties, but it's okay. Um, who they signed? This is where we kind of go, oh, this is a little bit yikes. I'm gonna go with I'll do this for the Dolphins fans. Braxton Berrios, 1 year, $2 million. Cheap. You need receiver help. Okay. Colts. They made a few moves. They brought back Braden Smith, who, oh, I said it wrong. Braden Smith, my bad. 1 year reworked his contract, so not very much going on there. There's two names I really want to shout out quickly for the Colts. Charvarius Ward, 3 years, $60 million. He just wanted a new scenery. He had to get out of there after what happened with his family. I would blame him either. 3 years, $60 million. That's a way to create a no-fly zone. But I really want to talk about their backup quarterback, Daniel Jones. 1 year, $14 million. $14 million for Daniel Jones is absurd. So, that's absurd. Come on. Like, I don't think his market was that good. Come on. Let's be serious. For Jacksonville, Jordan Lewis, 3 years, $30 million. The best, probably one of the best, and I'm being biased, probably the best slot corner in the league. They didn't really sign, they didn't sign anybody, so that's kind of what we're going with. Kansas City Chiefs. I'm gonna go Nick Bolton. I won't count Trey Smith. He's a franchise tag. Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45 million. Probably, maybe the second best linebacker in the free agency class. So that's a good move by the Chiefs. Who they signed back, I'm gonna go with Christian Fulton, 2 years. Or who they signed 2 years, 15 million for Christian Fulton. You take him away from the Chargers. Why not? You need cornerback help. Back 3 years, $106.5 million. Highest paid defensive end currently. It's well deserved. Absolutely. Biggest signing they made was, in my opinion, Jeremy Chin, 2 years, $16 million, who proved his worth in Washington with Dan Quinn. So you take that. Chargers, Khalil Mack, 1 year, $18 million. 18's a lot, but Khalil Mack was really good for them. You take it. Uh, for the signings, I could say Mekhi Becton, 2 years, $20 million. Yeah. Deontay Jackson, 2 years, 13. I'm gonna go Najee Harris, 1 year, 5.25. Because he's a good player. He can run between the tackles. And you can see what the Chargers are trying to do. And I'm all for it. For the like Matthew Stafford, they restructured his deal. You're good with that. You'll take that all day long. Devontae Adams, 2 years, 46. You knew he was going to take a big contract if he could get it. So to take 23 a year, awesome. But I also want to shout out Puna Forward. Here's Puna Forward, 3 years, 29.6. We said it here, I believe, on this show, Puna Forward would be like 1 year, $4 million. He got 3 years, 29. I don't know how that happens, but we had totally different amounts of information. Miami Dolphins. I'm gonna go with Tyrell Dodson. Tyrell Dodson. 2 years, 8.25. Why not? He was good for you. Take him back. Why not? Uh, for the Dolphins, I'm gonna go with the guy they. Hang on. Yes, okay. I'm gonna go with they. Dolphins signed James Daniels, 3 years, 24. Why not? Few other names they signed was Nick Westbrook at Kine, 2 years, 6.5. They signed Zach Wilson for 1 year, 6 million. So there you go. Vikings. Byron Murphy, 3 years, $66 million. He ended up getting to free agency, but they were able to sign him back. So you take that. Biggest signing, I think, was there's two of them. Actually, there's a few of them, I should say. There's a few. But I'm gonna try to limit this down here. I'm gonna go with four names. Four names for this Vikings team. Will Fries, 5 years, $88 million. Was with the Colts, you take it. You need offensive line help. Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $60 million, came over after being released from the Commanders. You take that. Javon Hargrave, 2 years, $30 million, being released from San Francisco. You need defensive line help. These two guys hit. And then Isaiah Rodgers, 2 years, $15 million. You needed an extra corner after Gilmore left. This is a good move on their part. Patriots, Austin Hooper, 1 year, $5 million. That's pretty much the retain. Yeah. Two guys I want to shout out here for the Patriots. Milton Williams, 4 years, $104 million. Like I said, it was about 20, I want to say it was almost $30 million that he got on average. So you take that. Carlton Davis, 3 years, 60. That's a lot of money, but you're okay with that because you need cornerback help. So you take it. Saints. I think the biggest name that they re-signed was Chase Young, 3 years, $51 million. Every year, people say the Saints have no money, and they make a move like this. Just have to say it. Biggest signing, I guess, would have to be Justin Reed, 3 years, 37.5. I don't know why they went with safety, to be honest with you, but why not? Brandon Cooks also returned 2 years, $13 million, just to say. Giants. It's not great. I'm gonna go with Darius Slayton, 3 years, $36 million. Why not? Two big names I want to shout out here. Paulson Adebo, 3 years, $54 million. He's gonna help in the cornerback room. You probably figure they're gonna try to get a Travis Hunter or the good quarterback or whatever, but you need help. And then Javon Holland, 3 years, $45 million, came over from the Dolphins. Didn't have his best year, but still a really good player. And a guy you want on your team. Jets, the biggest signing I think has to be Jermaine Sherwood, 3 years, $45 million. They get that deal done. That's a very big deal. Signings, I'm gonna go. There's two here. Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. He took the guaranteed contract. I get it. Take a lot of money guaranteed. I get it. But you needed a quarterback. This is a good move. And then Brandon Stevens, 3 years, $36 million. A good deal nonetheless. That's a good deal. Good deal for them. Absolutely. Eagles. Zach Bond, 3 years, $51 million. Well deserved. Saquon Barkley got a 2 year extension, 41.2. You take that. The biggest move, I guess, was they made two moves, I'm going to say. A.J. Dillon, 1 year, we don't know about the money. And Adoree Jackson, 1 year, we don't know about the money. So, I'll leave it at that. If you really wanted the money, Azeez Ojulari, 1 year, $4 million. So there you go, if you want that. Steelers. I'm going to go with the biggest move was DK Metcalf. They traded him for him and also signed him 5 years, $150 million. There you go. Who they signed? Darius Slay, 1 year, $10 million. Expensive, yes, but he's still a good player. 49ers. Let's see here. I guess I'm gonna go with Juice. Kyle Juszczyk, 2 years, $9 million. They get him back. He was a free agent. They get him back. Sign. I guess I'm gonna go with Demarcus Robinson, 2 years, $9.5 million. A good wide receiver option that you don't currently have. Seahawks. Re-signing Ernest Jones the fourth, 3 years, $33 million. You take that. Biggest signing by far, there's two of them. Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100.5 million. And Cooper Kupp, 3 years, $45 million. You need receiver help after trading away Metcalf and cutting Tyler Lockett. You need quarterback help when you trade or you got rid of Geno Smith. So it's a good move by that. I also want to say, I know I'm talking a little faster here. DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 years, $42 million. Coming over from Cowboys. Adam Durde was the defensive line coach. So that makes sense. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I think won free agency, by the way, with two moves. I thought this was great. Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million. They were able to retain him. That was like the first re-signing of the day in free agency. The biggest signing, though, was Hassan Reddick going to Tampa. 1 year, $14 million. Well deserved. Didn't play very well last year, but he can turn it on when he plays a whole year. Not just when he shows up midway. You just gotta go. Titans. I guess the biggest name would be Sebastian Joseph Day. 1 year, $7.5 million. So you take that. Biggest signing for the Titans was Dan Moore Jr. 4 years, $82 million. I'm sure Steelers fans are gonna haunt the Panthers forever, and haunt the Titans forever with these kind of moves that they were making. But Dan Moore, I don't think he was worth $82 million. Let's be honest. The offensive line class wasn't very good. Commanders, they trade for Deebo Samuel and they trade for Laremy Tunsil. Those are two big moves. Bobby Wagner 1 year, 9.5. There you go. They signed Javon Kinlaw 3 years, $45 million. So there you go. And that is it for us here. Let me know in the comments who had the best free agency this year in the NFL. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hubert.